One Life, One Chance started as a continuation of the work Brenda and I developed in the early 90s. At that time, we were young and raising a family. I was in Bible school, serving as a youth pastor at Mountain Park Community Church, and making ends meet as a construction worker. It was hard, but a great time in our life. In the summer months, I would partner with two other youth-driven guys, Chris Dick and Jay Sell, to run 10-day trips into the wilderness as a way to expand our non-church circle, and hopefully show, through God's creation and lifestyle, that there was more. Taking it to the next level of community and wanting more, I led a team to Baja, Mexico for a missions trip. There was an orphanage we went to visit. The work was hard, and we really didn't know what to expect. I developed pneumonia on my very first trip. Crazy. It was difficult, but what changed me the most was the sign in the entrance to the orphanage that said, "You will never be the same after you pass through this doorway." True to what it said, I was changed. And those who came with me were never the same. We still talk about that day. After that trip, God changed my direction of focus. I had an expanded worldview. I began to see the brokenness and desperate conditions of those that have less than you or I do. James 1:27 became real. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless as this, to look after orphans and widows in their distress and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. Moving forward, we ran more trips. Others came along, saw the same things we did, and God revealed to us that this was His life path for us, and especially for me. And as we continued to work with our other youth pastor friends and churches, the awareness grew and so did our work. We took on a new name, Stony Creek. Jay Sell, one of the founding members, was from Stony Creek, Ontario, and it just made sense. Especially as all of our journey to Christ is born in the hard things of life like loneliness, desperation, and a rocky path. God breathed, God loved, and sometimes a stony path to Him. In 2007, God again called us to do more. I was on another trip with a team from Chilliwack. My heart was really empty because I was either done or couldn't comprehend the huge hole that could never be filled in Baja, Mexico. So I sat on the steps of an old church, looking out at the stars and just crying out to God, asking why He brought us to this place of emptiness. All week we had been working with orphans that had suffered trauma, and it just felt so desperate and unachievable. I was so ready to give up. Behind me was an extinct volcano, lit up by the moon, exactly how I felt, extinct. Foreshadowed by the truth that I was empty and ready to give up, I went to bed that night in the bunk of our minibus, looking out at the light across the Bay of San Quintin, not knowing God had another plan. In the morning I woke up and everything was different. God had changed me. God gave me new life. I cried for days and was broken. Who would have ever known but the lights across that bay would someday be the location of Los Olivos and the work God is currently doing. It took a long trip north with a fellow named Phil Hills to fully vet the new experience. But One Life was born, and since then we have never looked back. Since that day and 23 years later, thousands of people have made the journey to Baja, Thailand, Haiti, and Uganda for the benefit of others. Hundreds of homes were built for the needy. Food and medical care was given to those in need, and lives were changed on both sides. I may be the founding member and president of this organization, but I serve among great people. We all do this as volunteers, and this is all of our story. It takes all of us to bring hope to the broken, shelter to the homeless, and Christ to the forgotten. You don't have to be funded by a church, you don't have to be independently wealthy. You just have to take that very first step in faith.